Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
The following stream has been approved for truth seekers by the DEFCON Truth Alliance.
If the opinion that's coming out needs people to be silenced, it's a psyop. There are psychological operations in play.
So if you can't question it, if you're supposed to just go along, it's a psyop.
Yeah, and if people have to be silenced or publicly shamed because of their information, and they're not telling people the sky's falling, they're not saying crazy shit. Mm-hmm. They're just saying basic stuff, and they need to be silenced. That is a psyop.
There's a war out there, old friend. A world war. And it's not about who's got the most bullets. It's about who controls the information. What we see and hear, how we work, what we think. It's all about the information.
We have an Insurrection Act for a reason.
What's up, brother? Glad. So excited to be back on DEFCON.
DEFCON Zero, man. Oh God. This is my first DEFCON as a co-founder of it. I got the official hoodie, so I'm a co-founder now. It took me a long time to get here, but I made it.
I'm so jealous, bro.
I know, right?
I'm so jealous right now. I want mine.
Well, we can work on that. We can work on that. But welcome everybody to DEFCON ZERQ. We are on the big screen tonight on Rumble, so appreciate Rumble for doing that for us. And I hope everybody is ready to get into the midst of the things that you did not know. Well, maybe you did if you've been listening to the DEFCON ZERQ, because we've been laying this out for a long time of what is being unveiled right now, specifically with a gentleman, not even a gentleman, a piece of shit by the name of Jeffrey Epstein, who maybe or maybe not is dead, or maybe in witness protection. We don't know. But,
they heard it here first, bro.
They did. And now people are like, I think Epstein's still alive. And I'm like, well, one of the things that we talked about was the attorney general is the one that oversees WITSEC. And this is interesting because the original attorney general that oversaw Epstein's original case was not Bill Barr. It was Jeff Sessions. And Jeff Sessions and Steve Bannon both left the DOJ and the White House around the same time. And where did Bannon go? Bannon went immediately and stayed for over 9 months with Jeffrey Epstein, trying to help him reshape his image. Well, taking video evidence of interviews, over 16 hours of footage and all of this stuff. I find it really interesting because, Bannon's kind of being implicated a lot in this, but what if Bannon was playing a role? What if Bannon was the liaison to help set it all up to make sure that Epstein properly was put into WITSEC? And I think that is a plausible scenario, especially with what we're coming out now. I just saw Mario Newell on X, and he posted these really disturbing Epstein emails that are coming out. Okay. And I will bring this up here because these need to be seen, but I want to show people something. Because we're seeing some names redacted and we're seeing other names not redacted, right?
Give a teaser here, and then we'll
I'm going to give a teaser
to our 2 ads, and then we'll come back on it.
Okay, so this email is new Brazilian just arrived, sexy and cute, 9 years old. Best regards, and they blocked the name. Okay, that's interesting. That's pretty sick and disgusting. The next one, thank you for the fun night. Your little girl was a little naughty, and the name's redacted. Now, me and Alpha, when we get back after these ads, I'm going to tell you why they're redacted and why they're not releasing those names, because it's actually very simple once you realize what's happening here.
So stick around, support the people, support this show. All the links to our sponsors, partners, and affiliates down in the links below. So with that, folks, yes, Rattlesnake Meat. We've been trained to buy cheap, fast, and processed, but cheap comes at a cost: your health. The land, the animals at Rattlesnake, they take no shortcuts, no subsidies, just premium pasture-raised beef and chicken that's real, honest, and worth it. Think differently, eat better, bite back at Big AG. Grab your pasture-raised meat now. Order at rattlesnakemeats.com/Badlands. Promo code Badlands. Once again, that's rattlesnakemeats.com/Badlands, and that is promo code Badlands. And our next one here, which you guys are definitely going to enjoy, this is, if it will work on my screen, there we go, Patriot Protect. Today, it's scarily easy for criminals, scammers, or anyone with bad intentions to find your personal information online. Your home address, phone number, workplace, even your family members' names are exposed with just a few clicks. I know, folks, they did this to me on social media. When this much information is public, scams aren't random. Hundreds of people search sites, and data brokers compile profiles linking your name, address, phone number, relatives, and online behavior. Scammers use these profiles to decide who to target and how to approach them. That's how identity fraud starts, long before the damage shows up. Patriot Protect removes your personal data from the internet, wiping it from Google and every major website where bad actors search for targets. Patriot Protect finds and deletes your personal information from 240 plus people search engines and data brokers. Once your profiles are eliminated, their search and destroy protocol runs continuous monitoring, so every new exposure is detected and wiped immediately. It's the peace of mind having your own security team, all for about the cost of keeping your porch lights on. If you want to take control of your personal information and reduce your exposure, go to patriot-protect.com/DEFCON, patriot-protect.com/DEFCON, then use the code Badlands for 15% all Patriot Protect plans. Folks, this is no joke. You don't have to be a content creator or something like that to be targeted. There's so many different professions that are targeted. So with that, and you'll see that link right there for you guys. Talk to me, brother. Let's bring this back up on the screen.
Yeah. So let me ask you a quick question, Alpha.
I'm listening.
When there's a massive email dump like this and they take the time to go out there and hide people's names, the first indication is like they're protecting them. But are they? Or are those names involved in a ongoing criminal investigation?
There's 3 reasons that the DOJ can redact information right now: victim, minor, or ongoing investigation. And we've been saying for a very long time, all the way, I mean, we were very, very public about it in February and March of last year. But I mean, we've been talking about this at length. And what are we talking about? We're talking about 18 U.S.C. 3521 WITSEC. And just to recap it, some of you remember, but we do have a lot of new eyes and ears watching the show tonight. One of the interesting things, if you go and you study 18 U.S.C. 3521, is that there's no judicial oversight. Let me repeat that. There is zero. Someone's going to screenshot and say I'm Illuminati. I just realized I did that. There is zero judicial oversight on 18 U.S.C. 3521. The only 2 people that have to know about it is the Attorney General or the Deputy Attorney General. That's it. So that means you can have someone in WITSEC and Congress doesn't know, the judicial branch doesn't know, and technically, if you go based off the law, the president doesn't even have to know. I mean, it's a very powerful section that's used for WITSEC. Now, people would say, well, where's the proof? Where's the proof that that's ever happened? Well, this is where things get a little interesting in the gray area, because you can't provide evidence, because again, that's how covert this section is for witness protection. However, if you go back through the last couple decades, you have had people come out and say, hey, I was a part of this. You've had family members that come out and say, hey, we went to the funeral, we seen the death certificate, and especially a lot with the mafia families, and shout out Mega Nuke, that just, holy, did I read that right? Holy smokes.
50 subscriptions. Well, he must have had a slip of the hand again, but hey, buddy, thank you so much for that one.
Oh, gee. I hope you're good, Nuke. I hope you're good. But you've had family members that have come out and said, hey, we thought you were dead. And we learned that they went to WITSEC. You've had whistleblowers that have come out and testified to knowing that these people were put into witness protection through that. So there is informal documentation throughout the last couple decades to support this. So with that, I'll give it back to you, Josh. I just want people to understand that 18 U.S.C. 3521. It's not a joke, not a conspiracy.
So one of the things that we've seen with a lot of these documents that are coming out, though, is the rebirth of Pizzagate. And this is getting very interesting. Now, one of the names that cross correlates back to the Q boards, if people don't remember this, is a woman by the name of Rachel Chandler, who operated a modeling agency for a lot of younger kids. And this modeling agency was just nothing more than a child handler, Chandler, operation to basically get children into certain situations of which they would be sexually abused and maybe even worse, ritualistic sacrifice. Now, Rachel Chandler is very, very popular in Hollywood, very influential in Hollywood. And I'm going to pull up a picture right there of her and Paris Hilton. That's Rachel Chandler and Paris Hilton. Now, did you know that Paris Hilton's sister, Nikki Hilton, actually married James Rothschild?
I did not know that.
Now, you know what's also interesting about this? Now, Representative Anna Paula Luna, okay, in February 2025, she was appointed to lead the task force on declassification of various different federal secrets, including the Epstein hearing during the House Oversight Committee related to the Epstein investigation 2026. She was an active participant on the hearing board. And so she's directly involved in all of this. Now, why is that important? Let me kind of put 2 and 2 together for some people out here. Watch your screen and watch what I'm about to show you. That's Anna Paula Luna with Paris Hilton. Why is Paris Hilton meeting Anna Paula Luna in Washington, D.C. in Congress, in the House?
I would imagine probably providing a statement.
I'm just saying, I think there's things happening and people gotta kind of look deeper to kind of see them. But Todd Blanche today. So Todd Blanche is the Deputy Attorney General. He's the one leading the declassification programs of the Epstein documents. And number one is I think Todd Blanche needs to be absolutely fired. I don't care if he's a good guy, get rid of him. He's just got a tarnished name at this point because we're not playing games when it comes to all this stuff. But he did fire U.S. Attorney Ed Martin, which now we're hearing Ed Martin's most likely going to take a position over at the White House. But Donald Trump didn't know about that firing, or at least that's what's being reported.
And just for clarification there, because I want people to understand, he removed his powers from, he was chief of the weaponization group.
Yep.
He moved them from there. So Ed Martin's still with the DOJ. It's just that Todd Blanche removed those specific powers. And
right. Well, that was December 15th
like
into the beginning of the year. And December 31st, he fired him.
And POTUS did not know about it.
And POTUS did not know about it. And he's a former Democrat. And so anyways, there's actors in the deep state that I believe are making moves. But you have to get around all of those things. Now, I think that there's another interesting move tonight, and we'll talk about that later when we get outside of the Epstein stuff, and that deals with DNI Tulsi Gabbard, and that goes back to a lot of the things that you and I talked about. But let's go back in. So Todd Blanche is actually the one helping release all of these 3 million new documents, and my guess is that there's going to be more and more documents actually released, even after Todd Blanche said there's not going to be. Why do I say that? Because if you go back to the earlier episodes with me and Alpha back in early 2025 talking about Epstein files, and do you remember when, Pam Bondi said, oh, no, this is it. This is all we have. You remember when Todd Blanche said, no, this is all the Epstein files that we have. And then all of a sudden there's more. There's 1 million new ones found. And then at the end of the last year, there's 3 million new ones found. These are the ones we're getting right now.
And just to recap back then, we said one of the things that people keep forgetting when it comes to Bindergate is they showed us the insides of Bindergate, and it told us 6 phases.
Mm-hmm.
So we knew there was more coming. We knew that there was more phases en route. But go ahead, Josh. I don't want to keep interrupting. I want to make sure we remind people of those specific things.
Yeah. Well, there's some interesting things coming out. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of stuff about pedophilia. There's a lot of stuff about some sick, disgusting stuff, connections directly to murderers, all of this. But there was a few different things that are starting to come about that people are starting to ask questions about. Okay. Did you know that Jeffrey Epstein was collaborating with a Bitcoin developer, biohacker, and transhumanist by the name of Brian Bishop?
I do know.
Well, and they were trying to create the first live birth of human designer babies and human cloning within the next 5 years. Now, guess where they were conducting this research?
Epstein's Island.
Ukraine. Now, why is that interesting? You remember, if you heard me on this show, Badlands audience or Alpha, ever say the reason why Ukraine is being in focus by Russia and Venezuela is in focus by the United States is because they are autonomous zones. They are outside of international oversight and international control, which makes them hotbeds for under the ground biomedical research. If you are a big biopharma company and you wanted to do massive amounts of research that's off the books that can't be stricken by the law, where do? You do it in Ukraine, you do it in Venezuela. Now we're seeing the first indications of this. Now we're tying Epstein directly to Ukraine, but with biogenetic research and human cloning. Now, why is that interesting? Well, it's interesting because this is what I've literally written about over the last 2 years. Like, when I say I've literally written about this over the last 2 years, if you followed my Substack at all, this is one article that I wrote on my Substack. This was last year, May 2022. The DNA conspiracy, Epstein's biogenetic web, and the rise of post-human surveillance. This goes into the honeypot of 23andMe. This goes into Google. By the way, did you know that Google just released a new service called Alpha Genome? And what is Alpha Genome? Where you go in there, you submit your DNA, and it'll produce designer DNA modifications to make you more intelligent, to make you taller, these types of things, but also designer babies. This is what Epstein was talking about. Well, did you know that there's direct correlation between Jeffrey Epstein and Google, Sergey Brin? let me read this to you because I just read this on my show. This is a show that I did on my Deep Dives episode. This is March 26, 2025 for everybody out there, okay? It's titled Epstein, DNA, AI, and Pandora's Box. And this is what everybody is about to learn because this is intricated within the scientific community that Epstein was working on and coercing, as well as the money financial channels that he was working on the back end, okay? So buried within the fine print of consumer DNA testing platforms is a clause that allows personal genetic data to be shared with shareholders. These shareholders include international pharmaceutical corporations, some directly tied to foreign governments such as Russia and China. This data pipeline feed not just commercial R&D, but the potential state-level biotechnological agendas. So scientific literature confirms DNA is not just static genetic archive. I think that's what we're understanding right now. There's much more to DNA than meets the eye. Now, Jeffrey Epstein's involvement in child trafficking and blackmail is only one layer of his operation. In 2012, Jeffrey Epstein launched a company by the name of the Southern Trust Company. It was launched out of the Virgin Islands, explicitly focused on DNA data mining. This is 2012. Southern Trust targeted underprivileged populations, mentally ill youth, autistic children, and impoverished Caribbean islanders for genetic harvesting. DNA collected was sold to biotech firms, banks, and undisclosed technology companies. One of Epstein's major financial backers, which we just found out, this was just in the Epstein dump, was Edmund de Rothschild Group, which paid him $28 million. A key player in global banking. His company had no real business model beyond data acquisition, specifically genetic data. So, subpoenas issued by Virgin Islands Attorney General Denise George, who was later fired after she subpoenaed J.P. Morgan and other executives at J.P. Morgan Chase, revealed that Google co-founders Larry Page and Sergey Brin had ties directly to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, she subpoenaed Sergey Brin and Larry Page. And what happened? They both disappeared off the face of the earth for over 6 months until Denise George was fired. Now, this is interesting because the CEO of YouTube, Susan Wachowski, was married to Larry Page, but also her sister was Ann Wachowski. She's a co-founder of 23andMe. Okay? One of the largest genetic data aggregators in the world. Now, Epstein was also linked to another company around the same time known as the New Albany Company. This was co-founded by Lex Wexner, located in an island in the Caribbean. Are you ready for this? Owned by Google that housed a quantum Google AI data center. Okay?
You can't make this shit up, man.
You can't make this shit. The facility integrates quantum computing and artificial intelligence infrastructure. DNA data, education profiles, behavioral data sets appear to be central to its machine learning algorithms. Okay? So Epstein also had a massive relationship with Ben Goertzel. Now, you might not know that name right off the bat, but this was a part of a digital identity initiative in Ethiopia. So AI scientist and founder of Humanity Plus, transhumanism, they created biometric IDs for over 5 million school children. Remember when Oprah was building schools in Africa and people were suing her because girls were going missing? But you want to know one of the things that they did? Exactly what Epstein did right here. Parents had to surrender their children's genetic and biogenetic data in exchange for access to education. Goertzel, the former chief scientist at Hanson Robotics, remember Sophia, the robot that has UAE citizenship? This is the guy who created her. So, not to mention Bill Gates. Bill Gates was not part of the Ethiopia project, but he was also associated with other digital ID programs, ID 2020, and then other ones that were throughout Southeast Asia. Now, entities like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Soros Economic Development Fund, and something known as Welcome Leap. Welcome Leap was formerly the Wellcome Trust. If you remember the global pandemic exercise that happened in 2022 that simulated another biowarfare pandemic, Wellcome Foundation was actually one of the financiers and funders of this, okay? Welcome Leap is their new name. Welcome Leap. 2 L's in Welcome. Leap is the new name of this organization. Well, they work on brain mapping in infants, real-time biometric surveillance, and integrating human neural data into artificial systems. Okay? Now, here's the key. You know what DARPA is, the Defense Advanced Research Projects, right? One of their former directors is a woman by the name of Regina Dugan. Okay. Regina also ran Google's advanced R&D division, Facebook's Building 8, where Oculus and Meta was developed. And she now runs the Welcome Leap Foundation. Okay. So, and also in there is the World Health Organization's chief scientist, Jeffrey Farrar. So I have a source that works with Google. This guy is a genius, has multiple different PhDs, neuroscientist, brain surgeon, and then went into artificial intelligence. He works for Google Quantum AI, and on just a regular, ordinary, everyday call, Alpha, I'm sitting on a call with this guy. And I was like, hey, how you been? How you doing? He's like, good. I'm like, oh, where you working? He's like, oh, I'm still working with Google. Been there, last 5 years working on this quantum AI project. And I go, quantum AI? And he goes, I'm like, quantum computing? He goes, yeah, we integrated our AI into quantum infrastructure about 5 years ago. And I go, man, is this an AGI? He goes, oh, yeah, we obtained AGI 5 years ago. Now, AGI hasn't even been said to be achieved yet. And he's telling me on this call, like, yeah, we already got it. And I go, what are you doing over there? He goes, oh, well, I work with all of our various different partners in biopharma and genetics and from hospitals to medical laboratories. And we intake all of the genetic and bio information and we input it directly into Google's quantum AI. And then that helps build out its algorithm for genetic profiling, for basically designer genetic creations, all of these types of things. So I say it here, that this data is aggregated and processed using daisy-chain quantum computing, forming what is referred to quantum AI. These systems are being used in biopharmaceutical development and potentially to build a predictive behavioral models capable of preempting individual actions, responses, and choices. Okay? So another part that I want to kind of bring people into this.
And companies like before you shift parts, I just want to show people an email. This is one that comes from the Epstein file. There you go. To Jeffrey Epstein, and there's one of his Gmails that you'll see in a lot of these from Leslie Groff.
Oh God, you got to send that to me.
Dated Tuesday, September 6, 2011. Subject reminder. Reminder for what? Regina over there at DARPA.
Companies like 23andMe promise consumer empowerment through personalized ancestry mapping and health insights. In reality, they were constructing privately owned genomic databases. These repositories included complete family trees, potential health risks, predispositions, and ethnic profiles. Millions of users submitted their DNA unaware of how this data would be used, stored, sold, or integrated into larger systems. This is where it gets interesting, and this is where Google and Wachowski actually play into this, right? In 2023, 23andMe suffered a massive data breach, exposing nearly 7 million users. Although this event was widely reported as a cybersecurity failure, the outcome was the same. A treasure trove of genetic data became accessible to third parties. By 2025, the company filed for bankruptcy. Shortly after, biotech giant Regeneron moved in to acquire the company's genetic database, containing the genomic profiles of over 15 million individuals. What began as a consumer-friendly product evolved into a corporate asset of incalculable value. Well, guess what, guys? 23andMe and other companies like Atlas Biomed in Europe, these were not real companies. They were honeypot operations for genetic information. Because at the same time that was happening for 23andMe, which was CEO was Ann Wachowski, funded by Alphabet, Google Sergey Brin, okay? Europe saw a quieter but equally unsettling pattern. Companies such as Atlas Biomed in the UK shut down abruptly in 2024, locking users out of their accounts and deleting their online presence. Investigations later revealed links to Russian business interests, raising red flags about where the data had ultimately gone. In Sweden and the Netherlands, lesser-known genomic companies similarly collapsed after reporting data breaches. But these breaches were not followed by transparency or corrective action. Instead, their domains and infrastructure were quietly purchased and absorbed by shell corporations with no clear accountability. These companies disappeared, but the data remained, likely rerouted to other private or government-controlled infrastructure. Now, why is this important? Because what I was talking about here is that you're talking about,
just so people don't think, well, maybe Josh thinks it's important. How do we know Epstein thought it was important? I've been having a lot of fun with these Epstein files, bro.
Well, bring it up.
Here's another one. This is, again, to Epstein from Boris Nikolik.
I know that name.
Subject's Regina. And he says, you probably saw it. And he sends him a link And the link, DARPA director exits agency for Google, assumes mysterious role. So apparently it's not just Josh that thought this was important, because Boris Nikolic decided to reach out to Epstein regarding Regina. Remember, Regina is the one from the previous email. Just to give people an idea,
that's who he is.
You remember we had this email right here? This is the one that was to Jeffrey from Leslie. Reminder with Regina. And this is why people need to capitalize and go and get the source information on this yourself. Because a lot of the stuff you'll be like, why is there a lot of doubled up and tripled up emails? Because what they did, and this is what you do in an investigation, in this email, it's to Jeffrey Epstein from Leslie. Well, you also have to have it from that person's email where it'll be, from them. So you're getting both sides, where it was sent, where it was received. And so when you go to the other one, this is where they make mistakes, because here we've seen this identical email, timestamp matches and everything, but here they redact Regina's name. But we have Regina's name right here.
Okay, so I told you I knew Boris Nikolic's name. So Boris Nikolic is previously served as a chief advisor for science and technology to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So I want people to start to see how this is all interconnected.
The dude sending Epstein an email saying, "Hey, bro, did you see this?" Kind of like what we do with each other.
Yeah, but also that reminder was about a meeting that he had with Regina while she was at DARPA.
Well, he literally put her name in the subject line.
That's right. Well, and by the way, Leslie was his personal assistant. So she was sending him a reminder of what was going on. So what people need to begin to see is I want to play a short little video clip, okay? It's 2 minutes long. But I want people to begin to put the numbers together, and then I'm going to kind of maybe show you what's really been going on. And one of the reasons why I think the DOJ and the Trump administration are trying to bury this in a certain sense. That, okay, listen to this.
For this reason, this oligarchic, the world oligarchic system, they have the power on Europe because they control all the people like Bundeskanzler or president or prime minister. The problem is that these oligarchs, all of them are related with the system of the pedophilia one, because we know that there are more than 8 million children per year which they disappear. 8 million does mean the entire population of Austria. Mm-hmm. They disappear without any information, simply like that. And this is the transhumanism. Mm-hmm. So for this reason, sorry to interrupt you, the situation with Donald Trump was a big shock.
They didn't expect that to happen. That was an accident, I suppose.
Absolutely an accident.
Not part of their game plan.
It was the first time of the oligarchy system was what happened, an accident. Mm-hmm. Because now.
Okay. The part I wanted you to hear was that globally, about 8 million children go missing. Now, to bring this into context in the United States of America for everybody out there, approximately 800,000 to 1 million children in the United States of America go missing each year, with over 600,000 of them never being found or not even reported.
Let me jump in there for a second. And I haven't said this on a live, public platform yet. And this is just my thought process. One of the things that I've realized, whether it's Tom Homan, the FBI, or Trump himself, when they talk about the kids who have about 126,000, right? Yeah, you have a little over 300,000 that went missing under Biden's that immigration thing, but words matter. They don't say we've rescued 126,000 kids. We found or located. Mm-hmm. And I think that's important. And like I said, maybe it is, I'm overthinking wordplay here. But if you look at a lot of other news briefs when it comes to like kidnappings and missing children, usually it says, hey,
Well, let me ask you this, Alpha. Have you heard any chatter or any information coming out throughout the DOJ, the Trump White House, about child relocation services? Or have you heard of anything with the Trump administration working with orphanages or adoption agencies to find homes for these kids?
No.
No. So I want people to keep that in mind, okay? So if you take the average number of children 14 years of age or younger in the United States of America, that number is about 80 million. It's like 65 to 80 million. Now I want you to go back and think about that number I just gave you. About 1 million children go missing each year. That's like 2% of the population of all children in the United States disappear each year. Okay. If you wanted to just take this in the context, 600,000 children go missing in the United States each year. That's like the population of Tampa, Florida, just disappearing. This isn't a national security risk. So the question is where are all these kids going? Well, it'd be one thing if they were all being rushed into human trafficking, child sex labor, organ harvesting. That does happen. Don't get me wrong. But Epstein himself was a procurer of children, like Rachel Chandler, right? He made fantasies happen for sexual deviants and pedophiles. But that's not all he did, guys. You remember Donald Trump talking about Hillary Clinton taking an entire village? Where does she take the village? Where does that village go? What do you need all of those children all at that same time for? To unlock all of the answers for this, you have to understand what we were just talking about, of what they're developing, of what they're creating, of Google's new alpha genome. See, when you start talking about Ukraine and Venezuela as the hotspots for these people, the vacation for global elites in Hollywood and famous musicians to go and visit and support the Marxist dictatorship or to support the new regime that was put in place by the Obama administration, you have to understand that deals are being made. And a lot of those deals are being made by NGOs, institutions, but also by large corporations that are moving in and developing out infrastructure. Not all of it above ground, much of it underground. Now, when you have autonomous countries, autonomous zones that don't have international oversight, they don't answer to the international rules-based order. And you can have a biopharma company like, let's say, for instance, the Defense Intelligence Agency, they hire a contractor by the name of Black & Veatch. Black & Veatch hires another contractor by the name of Metabiota. They work with German biopharmaceutical companies. They go into Ukraine. They set up 72 different biolabs. And one of those biolabs just happened to do military-grade gain-of-function research on COVID before it was named COVID. Okay? That's real. That happened. But now I want you to extend that out because there are 72 biolabs. Now I want you to extend it out that those biopharma companies had full reign of those regions. We know that Vladimir Putin went into the Eastern Donbass originally for a special military operation. What was the reason? Because over 14,500 Ukrainian Russians in the Eastern Donbass, Luhansk and so forth, had been murdered by the Ukrainians, partly because of biowarfare and genetic warfare that was being utilized against them. Well, where would that come out of? That would come out of these biolabs. Now, it's interesting that they say biogenetic warfare or biowarfare, because when we start to look at this, Alpha, if you were a biopharma firm, if you were a large data AI firm and you wanted to design genetic profiles or designer babies or produce clones, or you wanted to make super soldiers, you would need to do scientific experimentation on real live people, right?
I would.
But see, the thing is Alpha, you and I are old. They can't go take two 40-year-old, 50-year-old men, 40-year-old men, go out there and take us and just say, we're going to try to change your DNA, because DNA,
our bodies have been too contaminated.
That's right. Our DNA actually is like a clone. Our DNA is a clone of 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 a clone. And then you got the oxidative stress. So what type of DNA would you need?
Young DNA?
Very, very young DNA that hasn't had the mutated properties of breakdown and cloning and the iterative process, like children.
And if I was doing something like that, I'd probably want to revert back to, back in the days when phone lines and landlines first came out. When bad guys started doing stuff, they would like, hey, we need to meet in person because, the old wiretaps, right? But then technology comes, it advances, we get cell phones, computers, email, text messages. So law enforcement moved away from the old, we still say wiretap, but we don't do wiretap like you did back in the old days. It's more of a, like in California, it was Cal F, you know what I mean? Yeah, Electronic Protection Communications Act. It's things like that. So modern day criminals actually revert back to, when feasible, in person, but when you can't, landlines. Because landlines, believe it or not, folks, don't get monitored a lot. Now I'm going to bring up an email, and I'm not implying that there's any crime here. It's just you brought up metabiota.
Oh, okay.
And we're talking Epstein, so I just want to bring up another email. This one again from Leslie Groff to Lisa Inkin. Today's call in 15 minutes, new number. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to, go through it. It says, will do. I guess Jeffrey did not call Nathan back in 15 minutes. Nathan is now no longer at the number I gave you earlier and will be on his cell, redacted. Let us know what time Jeffrey might call back if you find out when that might be. Thanks. Lisa Inkin, metabiota. Let's scroll down. Let's scroll down. Let me see, where is it here? What I'm looking for. Here we go. Hi, Leslie. Nathan looks forward to talking to Jeffrey. Can you please have him use redacted? It's a landline. This way we can reduce the amount of potential trouble with that line. Thanks.
I wonder, what year was that?
That was 2013. And again, folks, I'm not making any allegations. I'm just pointing out information. That's part of a document release.
And what was the name of the guy that he was talking to? It was Nathan, right?
Yeah, it's Lisa Inkin.
Oh, I got her. Yep, we got her.
And then it's Leslie Groff, and then when we have Nathan, and there was another email that has his full name. I don't think it's this one. I'll have to go through and stick around towards the end of the show, folks, and I will show you how to do this. I could show you guys in under 2 minutes for those that are like, hey, man, I'd really like to start digging and get into this. Yeah, it might not be this one. But there is another email that has this, what I assume is his name, because not a whole lot of Nathans in this stuff.
I wonder who Nathan was.
Well, he was somebody that definitely didn't want to talk on a cell phone.
Oh, I know who it was. It was most likely Nathan Wolf. So my thoughts are, Nathan Wolf was a virologist, world-renowned virologist and epidemic researcher.
In Stanford, by chance?
Well, he collaborated directly with Peter Daszak of EcoHealth Alliance, which people know EcoHealth Alliance and Chapel Hill, North Carolina, where the original gain-of-function research for coronavirus actually occurred. Once Barack Obama shut that down through executive order, that was funded by Anthony Fauci with $3 million grant to Wuhan Institute of Virology, where Peter Daszak and EcoHealth moved to do the research in Wuhan. So it was interesting just because. He was one of the people. Oh, you ready for this? So he studied and taught in institutions like Stanford and Harvard, did extensive field research on emerging viruses. He founded a company called metabiota.
And shout out, I don't know if they're watching, but two people over there on Twitter, you definitely follow if you want to know a lot about metabiota. That'd be Game Tech Politics and Canaries Blue or Blue Canaries. Did a show with them years ago. And they have always, yeah. If you've heard metabiota, chances are it had a lot to do with information that they put out there publicly that a lot of people.
I'll even say it here. If you've ever heard of metabiota, and so for instance, number one, metabiota was funded by a venture capital firm by the name of Rosemont Seneca. Now, this is where it gets interesting because Rosemont Seneca was owned by a guy by the name of Hunter Biden. Okay? And so Hunter Biden, Rosemont Seneca, Metabiota got the contracts in the Ukrainian biolabs from Black & Veatch through the Defense Intelligence Agency in 2013. At the same time that Epstein's having these email chains with Nathan Wolf from Metabiota and Lindsay. So that's very interesting. Now, also on that same side is that Game Tech and Blue Canaries are the ones who broke the story. That story was stolen by a guy by the name of should I say his name? Warkland.
You know what? We're doing Badlands. I don't want to put any onus on John.
Okay. Well, anyways,
but a guy's name starts with war, and then things that we always concerned with are clandestine operations. I don't know, but
what happened is they're all working on it together. They was kind of think about it as a civilian intelligence operation, and they're all working on it together. And this person just kind of screwed them over on it. But anyways, that's old news. Moving forward, so with Epstein, I think that people are beginning to see that there's a much deeper, darker world that's being exposed here. It's not just pedophilia, Satanism, ritualistic sacrifice, adrenochrome. That is a major part of it. Organ harvesting, major part of it. But there is advanced biomedical research that these children were being acquired for. You heard it here first, guys. John's rubbing his chin right now.
He's like, y'all better not get me sued over here. It's important, because, and I talked about this. Look, the Epstein file, I put out a video thread. The Epstein files are out. And one of the things that's great about community investigations is the amount of people that can find information at a rapid pace. Absolutely a huge pro. One of the cons is just because something's out in the internet doesn't mean that it's factual. And so what happens is you're getting a lot of people that can't separate emotions from investigations. So if you come out and, like I am not I don't want to attribute it to Todd Blanche, but I think he was the one that said it, actually. Not everybody that's in the Epstein files did something wrong. Now, most people want to be like, no, but that's a factually correct statement. Now, we know that there's a high probability that a lot of names that are associated with Jeffrey Epstein probably are in some way, involved in something criminal. The spectrum of what that looks like, what we're going to find out. But there were a lot of people. The guy, like you said, was into business and money. So there are going to be a lot of connections. So what happens now is this gets exploited. What do? You bury the truth in an overwhelming amount of information. So you have that issue. That's issue number one that's going on right now. Issue number two that's going on right now is people are finding, statements that were made. We call them tips. Well, then Donald Trump did this. Just because somebody calls in and reports something doesn't mean that something happened. That happens all the time in law enforcement. And people are not looking at, when the special investigators called back, maybe it was found unfounded, maybe the person was found, not credible, or maybe the person they're making the allegation against, on a specific time frame had a provable alibi. And so right now you have there's this insane amount of tribalism that's happening within the conservative MAGA America First party in itself. And on the outside of that is all the piranhas and sharks. They're looking at blood in the water, and they're capitalizing on this because they want to disrupt the movement. They want to subvert the support for President Trump. And at the same time, they want to water down Epstein. That is their true thing. And so when Josh is sitting here telling us about this is atrocious behavior. And you don't hear anybody talking about Epstein and Metabiota right now on these social media platforms. You don't see anybody. I won't say anybody. I won't generalize. But you haven't seen anybody of notoriety been able to surface this topic talking about Epstein and this DNA manipulation or these using children for these scientific purposes. So with all the millions of people that are looking at this right now, why are we only hearing about it on DEFCON and maybe a few outliers?
There's people that are making the connections But I don't think they want to go that level because it is fringe. It is far out there. I mean, go to the research of Solari with Catherine Othman Fitz, right? So last year, Catherine Othman Fitz came out and said that her and her main researcher went out there. They pulled massive amounts of government records and contracts and found that over 23 trillion, with a T, trillion dollars worth of U.S. taxpayer dollars were utilized to build over 127 deep underground military bases around the world. Of which those military bases are not on any maps and apparently are not even being used by our military. What's going on at those deep underground military bases? Well, I'm telling you what's going on is that there's something much bigger happening here. There's something that maybe we don't truly understand that's on the outlier of fringe that is occurring. That's a very sensitive situation and can't necessarily be released at this moment. Now, she was claiming that this was doomsday bunkers, right? Doomsday bunkers, and they're building it for their people and all this. I don't buy that. When we start to go back into the 1980s and the 1990s, there's many people that came forth that talked about finding these deep underground bases and what they witnessed inside of them. There's a lot of talk right now. I mean, you had Nicki Minaj yesterday. What did she say?
Well, you know what? If you talk about it, I'll bring up her profile because it's worth quoting them.
Well,
it is wild.
Bring it up right now. I want you to bring it up right now. I'm going to find a clip.
Okay, do that. And
I'm going to find a clip that's really, really important to this conversation.
Whole lot of stuff, folks. We're live. so bear with us on our awkward pauses as we bring this stuff up. And while we're doing that, do us a solid if you haven't done so already. Slap the thumb, hit the heart, leave a comment, and share this out.
So before you bring that up, let me bring this clip up. This is an interview that Bob Dylan did. I did a whole show on this a few years back, and he's not the only one. It's massive amounts of people throughout all Hollywood who say the same thing. Listen to what Bob Dylan says here.
Why do you still do it? Why are you still out here?
Well, it goes back to the destiny thing. I made a bargain with it, a long time ago, and I'm holding up my end.
What was your bargain?
To get where I am now.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
with the chief commander
on this earth,
and this earth, and then in the world we can't see.
Did you hear what he just said there?
I did.
You ever heard the conspiracy theory around the crossroads?
I have. You know what? That's a black box conspiracy show that we need to do on, because Sammy Davis Jr. Talks about that. That's definitely an interesting one.
Well, and what does he say there? He made a deal, and if anybody doesn't know the crossroads, basically what it is you go to any dirt road that comes to a T intersection with the left and the right road crossing. It has to be desolate, nobody around, and you go out there and you make the call, and apparently somebody shows up. And this is what Bob Dylan actually says that he did. He was in Minnesota. He from Minneapolis, drove out to in the middle of nowhere to a dead end dirt road that has has one road going this way, one road going this way, in a T intersection. And you sit down in the middle and you make your deal. And apparently somebody shows up, spiritual in nature.
You don't have to believe it, folks, but they do. So with that, let's bring up some Nicki Minaj. We'll go through a couple of these. And Nicki Minaj says, as they do their ritual tonight, God Almighty will reveal himself to them. The ritual will backfire on them. God will not be mocked. Blessed is the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Every tongue that rises up against me in judgment shall be condemned and put to shame. Watch. 20 years ago, that statement alone would have been headlines everywhere. That's the warm up to what I'm going to start reading to you guys. A lot of Chucky stuff. So right here, Nicki Minaj. Everyone knows Chrissy Teigen has had a dick, allegedly. So, let's see. Let's keep going. Where are they at? So she's been going after Jay-Z hard too. Should be coming up on it right here. Here's one where child predator. Well, maybe I should discuss the brainwashing techniques they use, and it should be coming up right out.
It's the margarita glass.
Yeah. Well, there's one besides that. So here's this one. Yeah, the margarita glass. But there's another one too I want to read. Your favorite artist has been practicing rituals in a satanic cult where they take babies from other countries and mutilate and kill them as a form of blood sacrifice to their god. You see, when your master is Satan, you must constantly shed blood. However, the jig is up. And obviously that's a jab at Jay-Z right there. And then right here, are y'all understanding that these people have been sacrificing children as a way of gaining and maintaining power? If you ever vote Democrat again, you're just as soulless as they are and will perish. Maybe it's time for me to do some story times, since I was trying not to say what I know, yet they continue to attempt bullying. Also, I won't be releasing an album until my contract is renegotiated and until I tell you all about the sabotage this Rico, in all caps, is finding out about Billboard. I find it very interesting, that word.
Interesting word.
Mm-hmm. And of course, there she has Jay-Z 26, Jay-Z 27. I think there was one more. Let me see. No, that looks to be it. Oh, she was at Mar-a-Lago for the Alex's wedding. But yeah, you guys get the point. Now, why to stay on this point though? Why is this important? And let me shrink.
Well, and don't forget about Roseanne Barr. I mean, Roseanne has been saying this. Roseanne got canceled from Hollywood for this and supporting Donald Trump and for saying these things. She came out in an interview, I think it was the Tucker interview 2 years ago, where she says they're eating babies and sacrificing them to Moloch.
Which brings me to January 31st. I think this is a delta of context, because this is, I think the 30th was when these 3 million additional documents came out, and it was 3 days where a little bit more came out. But if you go to post 3815, I think we are approaching this drop. 2020. What happens when people learn the truth? What happens when people wake up? They will not be able to walk down the street. The Great Awakening. Now, why is this important? Because this is the stuff that you guys are about to find all over it. Give me 1 second while I bring this up to show you guys. Here we go. Let me zoom in, make it bigger for you guys. So, put out a post, said Epstein message alert. And I put, who is Bobby Slayton? A lot of pizza and safe travels. Weird talk. And this comes directly from one of the email documents that's from the Epstein release. And I put the source there. Anybody wants to go look and verify this yourself, it's EFTA 00507969. So this way you can confirm it. But in this message, it's dated May 29th of 2019. And it's between Bobby, and he's sending it to Epstein. And here's the quote from the email. I'll plan on a return trip this summer if I can. A lot of pizza this week and a lot of walking. Almost 150 blocks today. Safe travels, pal. Now, why is that important? Of course, we're seeing the conversation surrounding Pizzagate and all that stuff coming back up. So then I tagged him. I said, is this you? And his handle is Petbull of Comedy. I said, can you provide more information on the conversation between you and Jeffrey Epstein? In 2008, Epstein pleaded guilty and was convicted by a Florida state court of procuring a child for prostitution and of soliciting a prostitute. And I put that in there to be like, hey, dude, like, why are you hanging out with this dude saying that you want to go back and hang out with them? Why are you talking about pizza after this dude's already pleaded guilty to procuring a child for prostitution? Like, who hangs out with someone like that? And I said, why were you messaging Epstein and talking a lot about pizza? Now, here's a picture of the actual iMessage that came from the Epstein files. Here's his profile. And then within his profile, I found this. This goes back to July 31st, 2014. First pizza, now Nathan's. I could hit 145 pounds by the weekend. That could kill my supermodel career. He puts a little skull with the gun. And it's hot dogs. Now, for those that don't know, there's an email, right, with that it involved the party at the White House during Obama's administration, pizza and hot dogs, $60,000. But if you also go into the FBI files with a lot of this pedophilia conversation, you start to learn what pizza means. You start to learn what hot dogs mean. Now, could this be that this guy was legitimately just talking about pizza and hot dogs? Could be. But when you look at the totality and you zoom out, and you look at who is he iMessaging with, you look at all this, and it's things that have to make you go, And so this brings us back to that post. They will not be able to walk down the street. This is where we are entering this stage where everybody now has access to this stuff. Everybody's going to start looking these people up. Everybody's going to start making the connections between these names, and everybody's going to start asking the questions. And these people aren't going to be able to dodge them. They're not. And that's why it says they will not be able to walk down the street. I mean, you think I'm pulling the trigger too early on this? Because I feel like this is where we're at.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I was reading this article that just came out that, letters seen, Florida legal firm Edwards Henderson is cited as an email published in a cache of documents listing 32 minor child victims with only one name redacted, 31 left visible. So there is a group of undisclosed, unannounced people that have prompted a federal judge to hear an immediate decision on taking down the Epstein files, as in they're fighting back. They want them taken down.
And to that point, if you continue reading that story, the attorneys and some of the people requesting to have this stuff taken down are the same people that were attacking Trump, saying he was covering it up.
That's right.
Like, you guys are understanding that, right? They spent the last couple of weeks with Thomas Massie and MTG talking about, why isn't Trump putting it out there? And now some of them are saying, hey, no, time out. Let's we don't want this information out there. And here's why. And I'll say it. My opinions represent me. I'm not speaking for Josh or Badlands. This is my opinion, although I don't think they would disagree with me. I put out a post back then, so this is not something I'm making up now. If you go and you're a woman that's been brought in by Jeffrey Epstein, and then you go and say on a legal statement during a deposition or an interview, and this is documented, folks, that when you went to recruit other minor girls, you specifically looked for your friends that had credibility issues at school and credibility issues with their family. So this way, if they ever went to say nothing, nobody would believe them. If you say that you went and you targeted some of your minor friends that were girls because they needed, they didn't have the lavish lifestyle and monetary $200 to $300 to do some of these dirty deeds was something that would attract them. When you say that this is how you went to recruit and target, you're not a fucking victim anymore. You're a madam. You're a handler. And some of the women that Massie and MTG put out there have statements where they talk about this is some of the things they did. And this is why very few of us went out and said, this is an agenda to try to change the opinion towards Trump and what's going on with Epstein. And that's where we're at, folks. And I know a lot of you still simp for Massie, and that's okay. This guy in CanCon do it, but we all caught him lying during those interviews. What did he say? I have a list of 20 names, and I kept saying, say it then. And then he went and he actually, I think, was during one of the interviews. God, I don't remember which interview it was, but he acknowledges, well, I don't have the list. The victims and attorneys do, but I know of one name. So then what you're saying is you're making allegations against the president. You don't have the list. So you were lying.
Yeah.
So this is the stuff that's going on. So I'll give it back to you, Josh.
Yeah. I mean, it's mostly all bullshit, right? Trump has been very straightforward from the beginning. And the one point about the Epstein stuff and Donald Trump that I want to point out, The DOJ has had the Epstein evidence for a very long time. Lots of it. Okay. If at any point in time they found incriminating, and by the way, what you're seeing is just images, some videos, you're seeing some emails. You're not seeing the hardcore evidence that they took from Epstein's island or his mansion or Zero Ranch of the compromise that he actually had. Now, I want people to think about this. When the deep state from 2016 to 2020 was in control of the DOJ under Comey, okay, under the deep state Obama holdovers, if there was any resemblance of a man that looked like Donald Trump in that compromise of videos, it surely would have leaked online and his career would have been over then and there. And Epstein recorded everything. And to this day, not one snuff film or anything of Donald Trump has come out. Well, why?
Doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist. Now, did you see the one about the Harvard professor, Nowak?
I didn't. Show me.
So you didn't see this one. So there's two of them. There's one where he says he's asked, "Did you torture her?"
Bring it up. I want to see this.
So this one is to Ghislaine Maxwell. And it says, "Dear Ghislaine, many thanks again for your amazing hospitality. I'm so very sorry I caused you so much worry and that I spoiled this day. I am so happy I did not kill anybody. My perspective of life has changed somehow. Lots of love, Martin."
What the hell?
Harvard professor. Another email with him that's Jeffrey Epstein's asking, "Did you torture her?"
And these are the things that these people are they're just gonna get bombarded with these questions. And
Well,
you know who's not gonna ask them these questions? You know who's not gonna send their reporters out there? Mainstream media. You're not gonna see CNN question these people.
Now, did you hear that there was an Epstein email that was a link to the Madeleine McCain murder?
No, I didn't.
So someone sent Jeffrey Epstein a link to the Madeleine McCain murder. Now, why is that interesting? Do you remember who was implicated in let me see here. I can pull it up for you. Do you remember who was the sketch when they said the suspects in Madeleine McCain's murder?
It didn't look like somebody who's like was it I want to say, was it Podesta or
Yeah, it was John Podesta and his brother, and then there's a woman involved that looks like Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, what's interesting is, have you ever seen the video of what was the girl in Boulder, Colorado that was kidnapped? John Benet Ramsey. You ever seen the video of the house party that night and there's Ghislaine Maxwell with her father?
I've heard of it. I've never seen it, so I didn't know if that was true or not.
Before CGI, before AI, legit. So yep, there we go. Kind of. Well, that's yeah. So let me pull this up. This was the official sketch artist of what they believe to be the two sketches right here, the people who abducted Madeleine McCain. And there's John Podesta and Tony Podesta. The woman involved, that's her sketch at the top.
Bro. Jesus.
Yeah. And now when you start to understand, there's another part here that I haven't gone.
That's insane. Hold on. Before you carry on, because that's a big deal, dude. Can you bring up the first one again with the brothers? So, as an investigator, as a detective, you get a sketch, right? Or even a general lineup, right? And you see, let's just say eliminate the heavier brother Podesta and eliminate Ghislaine Maxwell, and you're just strictly just going off of one sketch. You're gonna be like, you got to be open to, it could be other people, sometimes you want it to fit someone. But then a situation like this where you have a sketch artist that does two sketches, and then you get two brothers, all of a sudden the likelihood of this being a mistake or an error, that starts to decrease substantially. And then you introduce the opposite sex, a woman suspect, a third suspect. And then you look at the sketch of that, and that matches another woman or Jasleen that has a connection with those same two guys. Again, you start to decrease the likelihood of this stuff being accidental or coincidence exponentially.
Well, how far down this rabbit hole do we want to go?
Listen, I'm here for it, man. Fire it off.
So one thing about these societies is that they have to keep a genetic profile continuously going. So did you ever notice that in the late 1990s, early 2000s, the population rate started to decline? So what you had was the birth of a lot of fertility clinics. These fertility clinics were not what you think they were. That you weren't going in there and looking through a profile of alpha warriors over there going, oh, I want that guy with the bulgy muscles and the cute little mustache, right? That's not what you were actually getting. What you were getting were people like Jeff Epstein's semen. I shit you not. Not only that, is you were getting certain genetic profiles of people who would be vulnerable and susceptible to psychological manipulation. This was actually discovered during the MK Ultra trials.
So they were breeding their samples.
Yes. So there were certain people that were through the MK Ultra trials. One of the things they realized is there's certain genetic dispositions that make people incredibly vulnerable to psychological manipulation. And so what they would do is they would take those out, and they'd find those genetic profiles, and they would put them in the fertility clinics, and then they would track those families. And then they would weaponize those kids like Adam Lanza, like all of our shooters over the last 20 years.
Create tests where you can monitor these specific kids and act like you're doing it for the whole school, like the GATE program.
There you go. So now start to think about when they want to create a social influence icon, right? They want to create a social influence icon. So how do you take how do you go out there and develop a social influence icon? I think some people know where I'm going with this.
Are you going to the Disney Mouse Club or whatever they were called?
No. Number one is John Benet Ramsey's parents were incredibly wealthy and influential. They lived in Boulder, Colorado. They partied with the elites. And you got to remember, there's indoctrination into these societies. So have you ever heard of Eric Clapton? Did you know Eric Clapton's first son died?
I did not know
that. Did you know that Robert Plant's first son died?
I did not know. You want to go to John Travolta?
John Travolta's first son died. Go through Hollywood and musicians and start looking at how many of their first kids died. Go look at the 27 Club. There's certain ritualistic sacrifices that are brought about to enter you into a club of wealth and power. Now,
Isn't this kind of the back end story of, what was it, Eyes Wide Shut? That
yes,
that this is why, and like towards the end of the movie, they actually the symbolism is that they're allowing their daughter to be taken to cover up for what they did.
Right. Now, do you remember when people were saying that Obama's kids were not theirs?
Yeah, I remember that.
I'm going to pull up something.
And the reason I brought up and I can't think of the name, I want to say the Disney Club, but you remember it was like Britney Spears and
Mickey Mouse Club.
The Mickey Mouse Club. There you go.
Christina Aguilera, Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears. Yeah.
And look at all of them. All of them have issues. We've always kind of like written it off to, well, it's because the lifestyle that went there, they didn't really have a normal child, life that was, like a regular kid. But it makes part of me wonders, were these kids, those samples, kind of what you're talking about? I mean, it at least makes sense theoretically.
Well, it's going to make a lot more crazier sense here in a minute. So what if I told you the whole world is nothing but a stage? So I was sitting there talking about, what if they kind of groomed these children? What if John Benet Ramsey didn't actually die? What if they went in there, they took John Benet Ramsey, and then they put her with a family that was nothing but groomers that were meant to get her to be somebody special, and they provided all the right opportunities for her to become a huge Hollywood star, and that's what they did. And now they control that person, and they control that person's influence. Like John Benet Ramsey's startling similarities to Katy Perry. Or maybe they want to keep it in their genetic line, right? And so if they want to keep it in their genetic line, you have, hold on, you have people like, hold on, let me pull this up. They want to keep it in genetic line. They just put them with host parents that do all the grooming and get them associated with, like this girl right here by the name of Taylor Swift, right? So what if Taylor Swift's mom wasn't really her mom? What if it was someone completely different? What if her mother was actually, hold on.
I think I know which one you're going with this one.
Anton LaVey's, the founder of the Church of Satan's daughter. Got to remember, for them, it's genetic purity. They have to keep their genetic lineage. So why wouldn't they be putting their people in positions of power? Why wouldn't they be breeding them into the populace and then putting them into positions of power and control? This is how it happens. This is what they do. This is what the occult have done for centuries.
Now, granted, I haven't had a chance to go and verify it, but I have been seeing a lot of the information about Mondami.
Mondami, his mom was an associate friend with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, okay, Justin Trudeau, we just talked about this last week. Castro. Start to make the connections to this people. That the reason why they have a trust infrastructure is because they're all related. The reason they know Katy Perry is going to support them and go out there and do anti-ICE, like Billie Eilish is going to go out there and say the things that she does, is because they weren't chosen. They were born for this.
Man, what do you say to that? I mean, Jesus, bro. Well, if you don't have nothing else on that, I'd like to show people how to access the Epstein files and teach them. And then after that, we can go into Rumble Rants. I think we saw a few of those that came in. So, folks, if you want to start researching this stuff, let me bring it up on the screen for you guys to see. You go to justice.gov/Epstein. So justice.gov/Epstein, if somebody wants to put it in the live chats for everybody. When you get there, this is a screen that you're going to reach. Epstein Library, are you 18 years of age or older? If you're 18 years of age or older, you're going to select yes. It'll verify your age. And then after that, it's going to bring you here. Search full Epstein Library. So we'll go here and let's do Woody Allen. And then you're going to get a bunch of different data sets that are going to populate. And so I think you guys can see the highlights on here a little bit. And then from here, you just go and you start to select one. And I think there was one that was interesting here going off memory. But let's go here. So we click on this PDF and it'll bring here. I'll tell you 17 pages. And this is what you do, folks. You go and you just start researching and reading this. Have a notepad that's with you, because you're going to come across emails and names that you're going to find of interest. So you want to write these things down, because then you want to plug these into the search engine. But like right here on this 17-page document, of course it would have 17 pages for the show that we're doing tonight. You just see, and JEE iTunes is an email that when you see this is one of Jeffrey Epstein's emails that you'll see, one of the popular ones. Turkey was a NATO country with 17% interest rates. I swear I didn't plan this out. I know it's looking like I planned it out that way because it's a 17-page PDF. And of course, it says 17% interest rates. But I was actually looking for something else with Woody Allen's wife, because it looks like there's some crazy stuff. Because I learned something about the wife that's in this email. I think her name's like Nui or Nuki or whatever. But that was actually his stepdaughter. If I'm probably butchering the story. But anyways, you go through and you just find these things, right? And it doesn't look like we'll get here. And you just look for it right here. He is the brother of Henry and uncle to Andrew. So there's an iMessage conversation going between Epstein and Woody Allen, where they're talking about, Henry and the uncle to Andrew. Sounds like some royal family conversation right there. Andrew Jarecki, a movie producer, Henry a trader. So anyways, you do that. So let me go back one. You go in here and you could put in, give me something you want me to see if that's in here, Josh, and I'll look it up, see if it populates. An easy word. Don't make me have to expose my spelling deficiency live on air. And somebody said, yes, it is. It was his stepdaughter. Yeah, absolutely disgusting. On there.
I don't know. I want to. How about this one? Type in Atlantis.
Atlantis. No, nothing came up.
You sure about that?
Yeah, I'll do it again. Atlantis. Came up the second time. So I must have had a typo in there. Let's see. Let's just bring up. Here's an email. I like to look for the ones that are either reports or emails. So we go here. Let's zoom in on it. Successful payment transaction. Reservations at Atlantis the Palm. Jeffrey Epstein, Atlantis. That looks like a hotel thing. But anyways, you guys get the point. I just wanted to show you guys how to do it. When you actually, let me bring that back up. When you go to these documents on the bottom right corner, you can't, let me scroll up a little bit so you guys, let me remove the overlay real quick. So you see right there in the bottom right corner, that's going to be kind of like your source, your source identifier. So you write that number down. So if you come across something, you don't want to have a billion tabs that are open, you can write that down, whatever the case may be. If you go and do posts like I did and you want other people to be able to find it to verify it, you can let them know. Because if you search out this number that starts here with the letters EFTA and the sequence of numbers, this is how people will find it. So you do this and you guys can go on Epstein searches like crazy. And then if you find something of interest, definitely send it to me and Josh. And because this is what worked for me as a detective, man. There were a lot of detectives that just wanted to do the entire investigation on their own. And I'm like, dude, you got dozens of cops that are out in the field. Just tell them what you're looking for and have all these eyes out there to help you. And so right now, we have nearly 10,000 people watching just on Rumble, a little over 2,000 people on the other platforms. So we're right around, close to 12,000 people watching live. Imagine if just, a tenth of you guys in the audience say, you know what, I'm going to go start digging. And you start digging and you start finding information and you're just like, this looks interesting. I'm going to shoot an email to Alpha. I'm going to shoot an email to Josh. Or you know what? Let me just grab the link. Here's something you guys can do. Grab the link, copy it, and go post it in the comments of this show. Hey, I found this. What do you think? Or, hey, here's a metabiota thing. Or, hey, here's an Atlantis thing. You use the comment section of this show on Rumble or whatever platform you're watching to put all this information in. And then me and Josh will go through and we'll see what we can expand down or send to other people. I mean, I think it's this is how we make you the viewer, not a spectator, but have active involvement in figuring this stuff out, bringing justice to these people and getting our sovereignty back.
And I'm going to make one point here real quick, okay, about the Epstein files that show that there is most likely. So, well, let me kind of explain this. Yesterday, Donald Trump came out and said, I told you there is nothing in the Epstein files about me. It all points to the Democrats and the congressmen who are compromised, right? He put out something like that yesterday on True Social. Now, that's important because, and let me pull up the post for Trump when he said this. This is important for a few different reasons, and people will understand why I'm saying this in a second. Let me pull up Donald Trump's True Social post real quick. If you find it before me, let me know. It's from yesterday. I should have up right there. Oh, there we go. I got it. Okay. Let me pull this up real quick. And then I'm going to bring out a realization that nobody's talking about. He goes, not only wasn't I friendly with Jeffrey Epstein, but based on the information that has just been released by the Department of Justice, Epstein and a sleazebag line author named Michael Wolff conspired in order to damage me and or my presidency. So much for the radical left's hope against hope, some of whom I'll be suing. Additionally, unlike so many people that like to talk trash, I never went to the infested Epstein Island, but almost all of these crooked Democrats and their donors did. Now, Donald Trump put that out yesterday. Alpha, how many active duty politicians are named in the Epstein files?
That they've talked about? None.
I think one, Haskell. Haskell's like the only one. One. Donald Trump says right here, almost all are in there and they're donors. But they're not in the Epstein files.
Well, that's
put two and two together.
Well, not just 2 and 2. Let's add another variable. We talked about this on Q After Hours.
Compromise.
Well,
how do you control and leverage them? And then investigations.
The initial release had how many documents?
1 million, I think.
It was 1 million. I think 1 million or 1.5 million, but it was right around there.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, that's where I'm going.
Oh, midterms are coming up.
And there's still he came out and he said there's 6 million documents. And so we started doing the math, right? Counting our fingers and toes. And we're like, well, hold on, Trump. Like, that means there's 500,000 documents you still haven't released to us. How many sealed indictments are there still out there?
A lot. I'm just saying, is zero, I think Haskell's the only politician that his name was in there. But none of active duty Democrat politicians or Republican for that matter, names were put out there. And I think that's really telling because if Donald Trump is going to use this as leverage or compromise against him, hey, I got your Epstein files. I'm going to ensure that they don't get out. But you know what? The next time I need a bill voted for, the next time we're going to do this, you're going to pay orders to me now, guys. Or we just see a tranche of emails. Oh, by the way, we forgot to release these ones. And it's all Democrats and their donors. Something like that is going to happen. Something like that is going to happen. I am telling you, there's a reason why Donald Trump came out yesterday and said almost all of these crooked Democrats and their donors did go to Epstein Island. And then we saw no evidence whatsoever to substantiate that because it's either sealed for investigations, it's being utilized as leverage against them, or it'll be released right before the midterms.
It's a perfect contingency. If you don't allow me to secure the elections the way I want to secure the elections, if you don't allow me to do these voter rolls, if you don't allow me to do these IDs, if you don't allow me to do all this stuff, well, then you know what? Here's your other option. Tomorrow's Delta.
That's it. Panic in DC. And it makes a lot of sense too, because they put out just enough to where there's breadcrumbs and people can go out there and begin finding all of this information out. That the information that they're putting out right now is showing that they're not afraid to throw these people out there. And now you're getting into panic in DC.
There's no way around it. There's no way around it. They're cooked. We'll bring up the Rumble rants right now, folks. Do us a solid if you're watching. Hit the thumb, hit the like, leave a comment. Help to continue to keep this show in the leaderboard every week. That's what you guys have done. And then if you guys did miss Q After Hours, there was a special announcement that we did at the end of that show, and we'll let you guys know at the end of this show as well. So let me bring up the Rumble rants real quick. Got a couple of them. Let's see. And we do appreciate it. The content is free. So when you guys send us these Rumble rants, when you guys do the subscriptions, you help keep us funded over here at Badlands.
And Mega Nuke said, tell Alpha that you guys are the shit. Keep rocking it on, brothers. We hit 1,000 likes, and that's why we got the 50 subs.
Holy smokes. Oh, freaking Nuke, man. You're awesome. You are awesome. All right, here we go. Let's get some Rumble rants going. We'll do it like Kim K. Start from the bottom, not with her. $10 coming in from Thomas Times 76. Dedicating this video to Josh and Alpha. It sums up DEFCON ZERQ perfectly. So let me grab this.
I copied the link and the link was dead, but maybe you can get it.
Here, I'll put it in the private chat real quick.
I'll see if it works.
Right. Yeah, see if you can get it to work. And I'll keep going. $70 coming in from Hevsky. On one of your shows, can you have David Whitehead on to talk about Canada and the Alberta Secession movement?
Yeah, I know David really well. I can, yeah, no problem, Mark. I can hit him up and see if we can get him on.
$5 coming in from Jen Hudd. Do you believe pics of Donald J. Trump with Epstein? He was acting undercover for the FBI or the White Hats. Saw CNN interview Epstein bro. He says they were close friends. They never once asked where Bill C was a good friend. Well, there's a lot of AI manipulation going on with the Epstein and Trump stuff and pictures with Trump and his daughters. If you guys, I hate to say it, but this is where we're at. Go and find a software that's within your price range, something that you can pay off for the entire year. And shout out for who was it? They disappeared. Where'd to go? 40 Starks gifted 5 subscriptions to Badlands. Thank you for that. But find something that searches images for AI manipulation, and look for one that has credibility behind it, because we are in that age where you're gonna have to, and a lot of people have been doing that. And so just understand that first and foremost, a lot of these photos you're seeing aren't even legit. Second, is ask them to show you a photo of Trump with Epstein after he was convicted. You will not find one. And so, and nobody wants to talk about that. You'll find photos of other people, like, one of the ones that we brought up on the screen earlier, but you will not find a photo of President Trump with Jeffrey Epstein after he was arrested and convicted. It does not exist. $20 come from PS Farm Girl. Check out Mogilevich in Ukraine. He ran a surrogate clinic. Check out Scorpion, an old show where they used DNA to kill an entire race of people that wouldn't leave their land, which was worth millions. Mogilevich. I've never heard of it. That sounds interesting. I'll have to peep that out.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Another one from $10 from PS Farm Girl. Check it. Mogilevich in Ukraine. He ran a fertility clinic in Ukraine. He had citizenship in 3 countries. Well, you put it twice. So that means you definitely want us to peep this out. So we will definitely peep this out. PS Farm Girl. I think Josh is writing it down right now. $5 coming in from Jed Hud. Guys, if the in vitro is true, what does that make Elon? Half of his kids are in vitro. I believe Elon was a good guy. Check this out. Well, here's the thing. Gosh, I might even have the video. I'll look for the video when Josh starts talking. I might have had it saved, but he comes out and he says, I'm an alien. Just nobody believes me.
Well, so hold on. You got to understand Elon's sense of humor. He's from South Africa, living in the United States, which makes him a legal alien.
All right. I hear that.
But also, I believe that Elon has definitely played around with genetic modification of his children.
So, however, with that conversation where he answers that, they're actually talking about like extraterrestrial life. But I do get your humor, and I do get what you're saying. It's just one of those things where it's, though I would look at it as like, I got to know if you're joking, bro. Like, I got to know if you're joking. If you guys haven't seen Elon with his shirt off, it's very weird looking.
The clone body's breaking down. I got to go refresh it.
It's definitely a weird looking torso for a male human. $10 coming in from Maggie Bundy. $5 rant challenge. Come on, guys, show your appreciation. Don't leave me hanging. I got one of you covered. Much love. Thank you for that,
thanks, Maggie.
Heck yeah. And then we got Reha challenge accepted. $5 coming in. Thank you, Reha. $10 from Texas Jules. I'm down with this rant challenge, Maggie. See you in Nashville. Thank you. You guys rock. Dollar for dollar coming from Keith O'Hibbins. Disclaimer warning. What did Kodak film? Arm & Hammer, Baking Soda, and Woody Allen all have in common? They all come in a yellow box.
That's disgusting.
If you don't get it, you're going to have to ask Keith to explain it. $5 coming in from Steph Asia. Thanks for your hard work. God bless you and your precious families. Thank you for that, Steph Asia. $5 from the new Prue. Thune is a piece of shit.
Yes, he is.
I agree with you completely on that one. $2 from Norin Knows. In the Slayton email with the hot dogs and pizza, notice the queuing with the same colors as Epstein's Island. I'll have to go back and look at that. So that does it for our Rumble rants. Let me turn it over to you, Josh. I'm going to go see if we have anything in the boost.
I was going to play that Facebook video.
Oh, go. Yeah, fire it off. I'm going to check for boost while you do that.
So apparently, this is to you and me.
As autism. What? Oh, yeah, we just under-medicate him and over-caffeinate him. You come and get some. Come and get some what? Why don't you come over and see? Come here. Come here, little guy. Come here. Your eye contact is stop. No, we just won't play. We just want to give you a hug. Come here, let me give you a hug. You look like you need a hug. No, I do not. No, I do not need a hug. Not falling for that again. Come here, let me give you a hug. We're gonna invade. I'm basically uninvadable. You're not gonna do nothing. You ain't gonna do nothing. He's calling our bluff. We don't know what to do. Y'all better start acting right. I'll come over there and I'll spank you. I'll have the Marines spank you. They love spanking people. We over-caffeinate the absolute piss out of them. We're all going to ramp up defense spending. Spend as much as you want. We've got new tech, the nuclear-powered things, big boats. I've got weaponized autism. What? Oh, yeah, we just under-medicate him and over-caffeinate him. You come and get some. Come and get some what? Why don't you come over and see?
I think it started over.
Yeah.
Oh,
that was good. That was good.
That was solid. Well, that no boost came in. I think there was a rumble.
I saw some. What was it?
Here we had one come in at the end. So let me give them some love.
$5
coming in from Alice C. Challenge accepted. And then $5 coming in from Lisa Ecker, 61 challenge accepted. So
we had Texas Jewel gifted 5 subscriptions. Then we had Nevada Night Owl gifted 5 subscriptions. And then we had 4D Starks gifted 5 subscriptions. So thanks, guys, on those subscriptions.
Got another one came in. Lynn Yoda, $20. Great show tonight, as always. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Definitely appreciate it.
And looking forward to Nashville. Make sure you guys go out there and get your tickets to go.
Get the tickets before they sell out. You know, that one's going to sell out fast. So that brings us to tonight's announcement. But before we get to that announcement, we're going to do our last commercial. See, I did. That was a good marketing right there, right? Everybody wants to know the announcement, but you got to watch the commercial to get to it. We'll see you guys in a sec. The following ad is rated M for mature. Soft Disclosure wants you to get naked this Valentine's Day with limited edition his and her bundles that save you 20% off the individual retail prices. Proprietary oil infusions, grass-finished beef tallow, goat's milk from American goats, locally grown herbs and ingredients. Soft Disclosure is putting America First fruits on your skin.
And for these sexy bundles, we've added an all-new boar's haired beard brush and a solid jade gua sha. And the reason I'm here is because Alpha doesn't know how to say these words.
Gusha. His, hers. We need a moment to calm down. Don't hide your skin. Disclose it. Get naked this Valentine's Day with Soft Disclosure. Head over to softdisclosure.com and save 20% off individual retail prices with our his and hers customizable bundles and use promo code NAKED to save 15% off the rest of the site. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. Promo code does not apply to bundle discounts. Listen, in my defense, okay, I said, hey, spell it how I say this weird word. And they spelled it for me, Gusha. That's how I said it.
What's the word?
Guasha? I don't know, man. I don't know, but listen.
You're a Marine, man. It's okay. We get it.
Send me to the hill. Let me charge it. Go blow shit up. All right. So you guys, those links are down in the description. Listen, Valentine's Day is right around the corner. I think we're down to T-minus 11 days, 10 days by the time you wake up. So Get a Valentine's gift for that person you love, the person you care about, good friend, or maybe there's somebody that you just want to surprise. And this is a way to create that conversation. Josh, we got a new show coming this Thursday.
We do.
You want to let everybody know about it?
Overwatch and the Guardian. This is going to be fun. So Alpha and I will be doing a new show on simulcasted on both of our Rumble channels, but it'll be on one YouTube channel, and we'll probably do it on our X channels as well, but on one X channel as well for that, because we're going to try to build it out. But this show is going to be different than kind of shows we've done in the past. It's definitely not going to it's going to be different than DEF CON. It's going to be different than My Daily Dose, different than Alpha, Just Alpha, all of these. We're going to take on a massive amount of different topics. We're going to talk about it. We're going to have guests on. Not only that, is we're going to travel around the country. Let's say that the New Jersey drones happens again. Me and Alpha are going to get on a plane. We're going to go down to New Jersey and we're going to look into it. We're going to interview people, and we're actually going to broadcast about these types of things like that. So we are going to be deep diving into various different conspiracies that we call black box conspiracies that will be underneath Overwatch and the Guardian, the show itself. So we'll have a segment there called Black Box Conspiracies. And we're going to be talking about everything. I mean, don't expect like it's going to be like Donald Trump in the news. It might just be like, dude, did you hear that new song? That was cool. Like, it's going to be a fun show, guys. So it's modeled after Just Alpha, but it's Just Alpha and Josh. And then we changed the name to Overwatch and the Guardian. And you will find out why Thursday it's called Overwatch and the Guardian. And trust me, you're not going to want to miss the intro to this show. If there's one intro you have to watch this whole year, it's this fucking intro.
It has been so hard not to play it.
Yes.
I'm like, I just want to show everybody. And me and Josh are like, no. The only way they get to see is they got to show up. Show up. So look to our social media feeds for the links and all that stuff. Again, this Thursday at 10. No, I'm wrong. 10:30? No, 11 o'clock. Yeah, 11 o'clock Eastern. Because that's 9 for you and 8 for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you go. So 11 o'clock Eastern is when you can look for it. Catch it on the replay if you're watching something else, but we definitely can use your guys' support with that. So with that, brother.
What you said what time? They're just asking what time now. But 11
p.m. Eastern.
11 p.m. Eastern. 11 p.m. Eastern. That's right.
Doing math over here. Again, you guys, if you go and you investigate, put those links in the comment and then leave us a little type in something.
Boom diggity right at the last. Go look at that Rumble rant.
Ooh, dang. Hold on. Let's see. Let's give this some love real quick. Boom diggity. $100 thrown in the Benjamin. Interesting article about Margaret Trudeau. Looking at it through the lens you just discussed tonight, it all begins to line up. Let me grab that link.
Yeah, she's a wild child.
And I'll put it in the chat for everybody has in the chat. Let me put in the private chat so I can look at it after the show. All right. With that, brother, you want to tell everybody what you got coming up, where they can find you?
Yeah, new show launching Thursday with a guy by the name of The Guardian, so it'll be pretty good. I recommend everybody go check it out on my channel. You can go subscribe to his channel too if you want, but I'm not going to get that info out. Just got my shows this week, a few wrestling matches with the kids. My daughter's going to one a little bit longer away, so we got to get a hotel for the night. So that'll be Friday and the Saturday. It's supposed to be in the 30s and the 40s this week, so I'm excited about that. It's a heat wave. Going to put on shorts and celebrate. Just normal routine, kind of looking at all the stuff happening in the world, going, I told you so, which is kind of nice.
I agree. You guys can find everything Alpha at alphawarrior.tv. Going to be some revamp coming up to the website thanks to this dude over here. It's looking pretty badass, folks.
Yeah, and so everybody out there, redpills.tv is my website, and I completely redesigned it. And if you go on there, it's pretty badass. So there's tons of ways to support us, everything that's going on. But if you go to redpills.tv, You can find my new website. So go give some love and support me over there by going to that website, checking it out. And Alpha Warriors will be probably ready here in the next few days because I built it.
Yeah. So if you want to see the old alphawarrior.tv, go see what's going to be, vintage and legacy, because this new one's looking pretty hot. With that, folks, good night. God bless. Listen, do not let social media control you. Control social media. You're all digital soldiers. If you don't know, now you know.
We have an army of digital soldiers. What we are now, I call them, because this was an insurgency, folks. This was run like an insurgency. This was irregular warfare at its finest in politics. And that story will continue to be told here. But we have what we call citizen journalists. Okay? Because the journalists that we have in our media did a disservice to themselves, actually more than they did to this country. They did a disservice to themselves because they displayed an arrogance that is unprecedented. And so the American people decided to take over the idea of information. They took over the idea of information, and they did it through social media.
Yes, sir.